this point, you're probably wondering, how do I know which niche to pick and how can I determine whether or not my desired niche is going to be profitable? So, in this lesson, I'm going to break down the entire process so you can pick the right profitable niche for your freelance writing business. So, let's jump right in. This graphic breaks down the three things that overlap when you find your perfect freelance writing niche. Your niche should be something you know about or something you can learn about, something you're interested in or enjoy writing about, and something profitable, which means that a specific target client with a good sized budget should be willing to pay you well for your work. Let's talk about each of these three things a little more in depth, starting with the first one. All right, so niche requirement number one, something you know about or something you can learn about. So I want you to ask yourself these questions. What do you know more about than the average person? Really, think about any topics you know more about than, say, your friends or your family members. And you don't even need a crazy amount of knowledge here, just familiarity. For example, maybe you worked as a receptionist at a dental office, so you know a lot about what goes on there. You could totally use that knowledge to specialize in dental writing in that case, even though you weren't an actual dentist. All right, the second question here, can you think of a topic you're interested in learning a lot about? Now, don't get me wrong here. If I only wrote about stuff I was interested in, I would probably be flat broke and just scraping by on low-paying articles about beer and video games. So I'm not saying it's a good idea to base your niche solely on what you're passionate about. That being said, I don't want you to write about something you hate either. So just think of topics you'd be okay with researching and writing about a lot. For example, one day I came across an ad where someone was looking for help writing blog posts about real estate, everything from selling a house to home decorating. And I thought, wow, that would be pretty cool to write about and learn about. Even though I had no real estate experience, I've never been a realtor before, I was still able to land the gig. I quickly learned everything I needed to know to get the job done right, and that can work for you too in many cases. Google will be your new best friend. And then the third question here, do you have any life experiences that can help you pick your niche? And it doesn't even have to be a job or a degree. Seriously, one time I used the fact that my mom was a teacher to help me land and complete an education technology writing job. I had just a little specialized knowledge from seeing her work, and that was enough. And I researched a lot to fill in any knowledge gaps. Again, Google will be your best friend when you start out in a new niche. Okay, so niche requirement number two, something you are interested in and or enjoy writing about. 1. Do you find yourself often reading blog posts and articles about a specific topic? So, for example, way before I changed my niche to writing about marketing, I would spend hours online reading blog posts about marketing because I really like marketing. It's something I'm interested in and something I really enjoy writing about. So, that's one reason why it's a great niche for me. Think about the topics that you like to read about. Maybe you'd like to write about those topics too. And then question two here, what are your main interests and how could you use those interests to define your niche? Do you have any unique interests that have given you specialized knowledge? For example, maybe you dabbled in building computers in high school, so you're interested in technology. You could totally use that interest and experience to break into the technology writing niche. And then question three, what's something you could write about a lot without getting bored? Because you are going to be writing about your niche topic quite a bit. You need to make sure it's not something that you find completely boring. Now, you might not love every single writing assignment you take on no matter what, but you don't want to hate it either. And finally, here we are at niche requirement number 3, something profitable, which means a specific target client should be willing to pay you well for your work. For this requirement, you need to first ask yourself, who would my target client be in the niche I'm thinking about? For example, if you want to write dental blog posts, your target client is probably going to be dental offices. Or if you want to write technology content, your target client might be technology companies. Once you have pinpointed who your target client is based on the niche you're considering, you need to figure out whether or not that client values the kind of work you do. So to explain this a little better, let me give you an example here. I am really into video games, and I've always thought that it would be so cool to write blog posts for video game company websites. But here's the thing. After I did some research on the game companies I wanted to write for, I found out that a lot of them use marketing methods other than blogging to win customers. So that means it might be tough for me to find consistent and high-paying work blogging for video game company websites. Since so many of them focus more on using commercials, traditional advertising, and marketing methods that don't involve blog posts, it could be really hard for me to sell them my services. Now, that being said, if you really have lots of expertise on a topic like video games, I don't want you to just give it up completely, because there are websites out there who need writers with specialized knowledge in weird niches and different areas. The main point I want to make here is just to realize that some niches, especially B2B niches, are often easier to build a clientele quickly in than others. So do some research on your target clients and their needs before you finalize your niche. You want to make sure that they value the kind of work you do, so they'll be willing to pay you well for it, and you'll be able to find consistent work. All right, and the last question here, does your target client have a good size budget? Now, don't stress out too much over this, because so many businesses today prioritize content marketing and budget for it. So you don't have to work with a company that's a huge household name to be paid well. But just realize that if you write for solopreneurs or tiny businesses or really small blogs, they may not have the budget to pay a lot for content. Now, I'm not saying that all small businesses and solopreneurs are that way, but it's often a safer bet to go after medium-sized or large companies if you can, because they typically value good content and they're willing to pay a lot for it. So I have a workbook for you in this module you can use to start brainstorming your niche. First, make a list of topics that meet niche requirement number 1 and a list of topics that meet niche requirement number 2. Then what you want to do is look for any overlaps. So in other words, you're looking for topics you're interested in or would enjoy writing about, and topics that you have some knowledge of or that you are willing to spend time learning about. Once you have some topics that overlap between niche requirement 1 and 2, you can go down the list and determine which ones are going to meet niche requirement number 3 and be the most profitable for you.